In the Game 2 press conference, after the Fever got dominated by the Aces, Becky Hammon came out and gave her opinions about how the game was called. And she says here, and I quote, "The physicality is out of control. That's for sure." Now, she also says, and I'll play the clip in a moment, where she compares the WNBA to the NBA. And she points out how the NBA has things under control when it comes to physicality. And I find that ironic because the reality is when it comes to the NBA, they don't allow this type of play going on. If there's physicality that's overboard, guess what they do? They either call flagrant, they suspend them, or kick them out of the game. And if those things are not happening, then what you are telling the players is you can do whatever you want. You're enabling them. And the problem with the WNBA, I'm going to say it again, the league doesn't have this under control. They allow too much physicality with no repercussions. Have we seen a suspension all year long? I can't remember any suspensions from a player that committed a foul that went a little bit too far. And it's not just fouls on Caitlin Clark. It's other teams like the Angel Reese and Phoebe situation. Now, I know she got called for a flagrant, but we've seen other hard fouls where things are not called. And it gets brushed to the side, no suspensions are made, and life goes on. But Becky Hammon wants to complain about, oh, the physicality is this and that. I understand where she's coming from, but where was this energy all year long? Why isn't Asia Wilson calling it out during the regular season? Why isn't Breanna Stewart or Sabrina Ionescu? Like, these players aren't talking about it. We have Sophie Cunningham, who doesn't have the same influence talking about it, or Caitlin Clark. She's the face of the league, in my opinion, but she can only do so much because of how she gets treated. Asia Wilson gets better treatment than Caitlin Clark from the media. So why not talk about it? I understand she gets a favorable whistle, but why not mention, hey, one of your players got it, thrown to the ground? I don't know if that ever happened with the Aces, but what I'm saying is, why not protect the players, especially the star players? Because if there ever comes a time in the playoffs where you have a questionable call and no repercussions are made, no ejections, no flagrants, no suspensions, these players are going to keep this up. And if you don't get it under control, well, guess what? The fans aren't going to enjoy your product and they're going to stop watching because it feels like WWE out there. It feels like football at times where they're roughhousing and they're not playing basketball. And it's a terrible product to watch. But I want to play what Becky Hammon had to say here.
The physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put two hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control. Most of my assistants come from the NBA and they're like, this would not fly in the NBA.
So if your assistants are telling you that, why haven't we been listening to this feedback the entire season? Because I know it's talked about, but we don't see enough conversations going on from the players or the coaches. Look, Becky Hammon has a ton of influence. And I'm wondering to myself, why has this not been addressed by the coaches and players, and they haven't gone to the league and said, look, we need better refs. We need to figure this out because fans are getting turned off. They talk about it on X and on social media and say, look at these fouls that are not called. And again, it's not just the Fever. You'll see a lot of that on X, but there's other examples out there where a foul happens and it's like, that was very egregious, and they just let it slip by. They're not consistent at making the same type of calls. Now, Stephanie White had her words to say about this, where she mentioned that it's hard for us to get in a flow when the refs are calling fouls on us every 10 seconds. So we can't run in transition. We can't get into any type of flow. And I get like the Fever trying to be physical because they're like, well, if they're going to be physical towards us, we got to display the same type of physicality on defense and showcase our strength. In the playoffs, the physicality is going to ramp up and fouls are going to be called less. However, it's not always like that, right? Because if you're getting called left or right, and it's not just the Fever, I want to point that out. Other teams are going through this as well. But the problem is they're not having enough conversations about it. The faces of this league, the players who have more pull, are not talking about it enough. And until you make a big deal about it, yeah, you might have to get a fine. You might have to face some repercussions, but the conversation needs to get louder so the league does something about it.
This level of physicality would not fly in the NBA. There'd be fights. We just have very well-mannered women that can get to the next play, but there would be fights.
I mean, the reality is they came in and they were physical and they dictated, and we were on our heels and we were passive and we were reactive to everything. We 28 points off of turnovers, 14 points off of offensive rebounds. I mean, they're too good. We can't spot them 42. Like, you know, we've got to be able to handle that. I mean, they've been world champions for a reason. They have a mentality that they know exactly how to compete at this stage and at this level. And we've got to be able to respond, and we've got to be able to rise to that challenge.
It feels like a physical game every game. Feels like it's been a physical season. But yes, I think, you know, I feel like I've been on the ground a little bit more this series so far. We just keep getting back up. So that's all I can really say.
Hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. You know, and when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor. And that's a challenge.
I'm glad she mentioned it, but she's being nice, Stephanie White here. She's not really calling out the refs. You can say it's a challenge, but the reality is these refs are bad. And you can't keep brushing to the side, because I'm telling you right now, if we have a questionable call to a star player and no repercussions are made, that fan base is going to be livid, because they're going to look at the league and go, how can you not do anything about it? Why'd you sit on your feet this whole time? They're going to be held accountable, and they have to do something about it in the offseason. I would hate to see that happen, but letting this slide by and there's been no type of repercussions for the way the players are behaving on the court, for the physicality, when it gets out of hand, it's going to blow up in their face someday. I just want to show you guys a couple clips here. So this is Caitlin Clark, boom, pushed down to the ground for no reason, no technical rejection called. Now, I do want to go through another clip. This is A'ja Wilson slamming one of the Lynx players to the ground. And a flagrant foul penalty to is called when unnecessary excessive contact is committed against opponent. It results in ejection of a player, but A'ja Wilson got away with it. And look at Fee Collier's reaction. She's like, what the world? So you see, it's not just the Fever dealing with this. It's also other teams facing these situations. So I just don't get what the refs are doing out here. I think they need to be looked at in the offseason, and the league needs to take this very serious, because if it gets out of control and they keep enabling this behavior, it's going to blow up in their face someday. I'm telling you right now, like, there's going to be a foul call that's very questionable, and it's going to affect the playoff series. I really believe that. And we're going to look back at these situations and go, when you do nothing and you enable situations to go on, you had it coming. Hope you guys enjoyed my reaction to what Becky Hammon had to say. Love to hear your thoughts about the refs in the WNBA. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.